Hey, this is Joe Big House Ken, and you are inside the house. Well, actually outside the house, and we're powered by Dynamic Fitness and Strength, building the better athlete. Today, I'm with my training partner on Saturdays, my meathead metabolic partner, Coach Kerry Harbor from Reagan High School. Coach, thanks for being on today.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So what we're going to do today is a little bit different. We're continuing to try to find the best ways to handle interviews, and in this segment with Coach Harbor, we're going to do what I'm going to call a 4+1 interview session. What we're going to do is we're going to have 4 quarters and an overtime. Each question will be on a 5-minute clock. After 5 minutes, we will move on to the next question. Now, on to the show. Okay, we're back with Coach Harbor. Here is question number 1. Coach, outline a standard training session with a class period, and let's talk about whether you're on a block or a daily schedule, how long that class is, do you account for the athletes dressing in and dressing out, and a little bit of just what's that session look like.
Okay, so for us, we're on what a lot of high schools are on now, what they call a block schedule. So on a block schedule, what that means is you have class every other day. So depending on the week, you'll have class 3 days or you may have 2 days. So we're on a block schedule. Within that block schedule, the period is about an hour and a half. So when you look at that period at about an hour and a half, most schools that are on that setup, what they usually do is they give the kids a certain amount of time to dress out. You have a certain amount of time for activity. For us at Reagan, we all have all of our physical education classes meet in the gym first, so we can take attendance. We're very big on being organized, everybody doing the same thing. So we meet in the gym, everybody meets in the gym, we take attendance to see who's tardy. After we do that, the students have 10 minutes to dress out. Once they dress out, they usually report to whatever area they're in. For me, it'll be in the weight room. So they get dressed out, they come in the weight room. Usually we have some supervision duties. Since I'm a male PE teacher, we're in the locker room, kind of not monitoring the kids because you can't really do that, but you kind of listening to make sure that there's no commotion or anything like that. After they get dressed out, they come and they report to their area, and then we kind of get rolling with class. For me, I have like a sheet that I use for like my daily format. And so every day I go in and I have class, and since it's, every other day, I can use it for 2 days, but I have a sheet that tells me exactly what I'm going to do every day. And that's from the warm-up, start to finish, whatever running drills, lifting, whatever we're going to do for that day, and that's kind of how I get started with the class.
So when you're saying in your outline, you'll actually take the athletes to the field and in the weight room during this block?
Yes, sir, I will.
Will you always start on the field?
It depends on what time of year and the weather. We will always start with some kind of dynamic warm-up, whether it's inside. Usually we'll use the auxiliary gym. If it's warm enough, I like to go outside, just because once the weather changes, we're kind of limited with what we can do. So we always start with some kind of dynamic warm-up, and then we usually do our running drills or conditioning for that day.
So when you say you have a 10-minute, you have your 10-minute dress in and dress out.
Yep.
So now you're about about 70 minutes left for activity?
Yes, sir.
Is it split down the middle, half and half condition or movement, and then the other half lift, or is the running take less time and the lifting take more, or is it generally right down the middle?
I try to go right down the middle just because of it's a shared space. So we have to share the space with other classes, especially if it's raining or if it's cooler, we're sharing the gym space with someone else. So I try to kind of split it right down the middle, but sometimes it depends on what we have going on with the other classes.
Okay, one of the other points. In this class, is it all athletes? Is it male, female, or is it athletes, general pop, male and female?
It's athletes, general population, male and female.
So you got the entire gauntlet of whoever's in Reagan High School.
I got, anybody that wants to sign up and take weight training. We do have a large percentage of the athletes that will take the class, but it is open to everyone.
Adaptive PE in that also?
I will also have adaptive PE. There have been times where I've had the adaptive physical education teacher from the district that will come in and help me with the student.
Okay, programming then. If I'm an athlete in this class, but then I'm general pop, is there 2 different strength training programs, or is everybody on the same deal?
So most of the time I try to keep everybody on the same thing, but I modify it.
Gotcha.
The closest, I guess, example would be something similar to your tier system, where, because of a limitation, whether it be physically, mentally, or whatever, you're doing something different than what somebody else is doing. And in education, that's called differentiation of instruction. So it is important that if my class is open to all students, I got to be able to teach all of them just like a classroom teacher would.
Gotcha. Question 2. I just finished middle school. I'm entering the 9th grade at Reagan. I'm going to be a competitive athlete. What difference in things are you doing to train freshmen compared to the individuals who may already be in your classes or on the Reagan football team, or any athlete for that matter?
So what everybody starts out with is what I call calisthenics. That is kind of like the basis of warm-up. I don't use a functional movement screen, but I do use calisthenics as kind of a movement screen. It tells me a lot about them in a real short amount of time. And everybody does those every day, because I feel like if you can't control your body weight, I don't need to be loading you with a barbell or a dumbbell or a weight plate. So for me, good movement and I guess correct movement is very important. So all freshmen, regardless of whether they're playing a sport or not, if they're in my class, everybody kind of starts out with the bar. And I'm teaching the movement. I'm training you what position to be in, where you put your hands, where you put your feet, how do you spot people. So all of our freshmen, if you come in, I'll give you an example for football, it's split up into basically 3 groups. And the freshmen are in a group by themselves. And what they're doing is they're using the bar, their body weight, a weight plate, or a dumbbell. They do very little of the full total movement when they first get there. And it's kind of like a slow cooking process.
So is there any difference then when your freshman football players or fall sports that start with you during your summer program versus a freshman athlete who comes in and signs up for one of your classes?
So my classes, I basically teach the upperclassmen. So kind of how it works in Winston-Salem for Scott County Schools is all freshmen take general physical education. Once they're in general physical education, there are students that I pull out and I put them in my weight training class. So everybody in my weight training class, I treat them like they don't know anything. Everybody starts at ground zero every year, every semester. Now I am a little bit more flexible with athletes and students that have a little bit more training background and kind of know what they're doing. They'll ask me, Coach, can I put a little bit of weight on the bar? But everybody kind of starts, the strongest kids that we have started with just using the bar. That's male and female.
Okay, here we go. Question 3. Strength training only. Your top 3 movements for a high school athlete. Now, we've already gone through the developmental, the freshmen. I'm talking about there are juniors and seniors in your program now, and your 3 go-to movements for your high school athletes.
So over time, I've kind of changed that a little bit. I would say they are bench press, back squat, and power clean. I've kind of tweaked that a little bit to an upper body pressing movement, a lower body pressing movement, and a power clean or deadlift variation. And the reason for that being is, as a college coach, over time, you kind of have to be flexible with your program. Some sports may not need to do a full power clean. Some of them may need to do a hang clean. Some sports, some different positions within certain sports may not need to do a heavy barbell bench press. They may need to do work with dumbbells. They may need to do a push-up. They may need to do a weighted push-up. When we start doing squats, like I said, everybody starts out with body weight squat. Then we move to like a kettlebell or like a goblet squat. Whatever we're doing, I'm trying to make sure that they can do the movement correctly. I'm not worrying about the load in the beginning. So I've changed it to where it was bench press, back squat, and power clean to upper body pressing, lower body pressing, and then a power clean, or I would say the best way to put it is a deadlift variation.
Gotcha. Here we go. Question 4. This one's a little bit interesting to me. I'm going to refer to, let's make this session you're in your summer training.
Gotcha.
So you can do a little bit more. I'm on the field and we're talking the running program. We'll generalize the running as speed, agility, and conditioning. There's numerous ways I've seen it. There's numerous ways I've done it. Do you have a specific day where you concentrate on speed and then a separate day of conditioning, separate day of agility? or do you make that one total package where you hit a little bit of both in each session?
When we're talking like in general terms, I break it up into a different day. So the different days are linear speed, change of direction or multi-directional speed, and then conditioning. Usually what I found out that works the best for us, depending on the gym space, field space, coaching staff that we have, is a linear speed day, a multi-directional speed day, and then because of the setup of the summertime, we usually do 2 conditioning days. And that is kind of dependent upon, the weather conditions, what's the field space look like. And I've always, felt like that the incoming athletes should not be held to the same standard as people that have been there. So usually what I use is, it's not a really complicated formula. I'm watching their body language. I'm looking to see, are they in distress? I'm really in a lot of communication with the trainer as far as the volume and the amount of things that we're asking them to do. And then the summertime, what it does is it does give us a little bit more time to spend on conditioning.
In North Carolina, what are the rules? Is it a Monday through Thursday? You have to give them Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, or is it 4 days a week? Can you go 5 days a week if you wanted to work them out? Are there any specific rules that we should know about if we were a private sector coach working with high school athletes in this state? I remember 10 years ago, you only were allowed 4 days a week in the summer, so I built my yearly plan off of training them Monday through Thursdays. Is that the same rules or has that changed?
Typically here in the state, just because of certain economic things, a lot of the schools are closed on Friday. And the reason why they do that is it's less that they have to pay for power. They don't have to worry about the building being staffed. So most people go, and I'm not gonna say everybody, but most people go Monday through Thursday. Also Friday is a lot of families take that Friday and they'll go on a long weekend for vacation. So we found out that, that 4-day program usually works the best. Now for football, we do that, but if it's another sport or other athletes, we kind of work around their outside training schedule, their club training schedule. They may be doing things with their head sport coach. So we kind of try to figure out the best way to attack that so that they can get in as many days as possible.
Yeah, I actually used the 4-day consecutive in the NFL model, and I had a good feel for what that would look like because of the fact that I was in the private sector beforehand implementing a 4-day model of how I feel I would train an athlete if I was in a team setting also. So that makes good sense. I did not know that some of it was economic. I thought it was just a straight rule.
No, so our schools, I would say, I don't know if all of them, but most of the schools here in Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, Friday the building is closed. And what that means is, it doesn't mean that you can't go in the building, but most of the time the air conditioning is off. The electricity, the lights and stuff will be on, but the building is technically closed.
Makes sense. I can appreciate that. Okay, now the bonus question. This is the one question that Coach did not get beforehand. I'm not going to kill him. I'm not that kind of guy. Coach, you've coached football and strength and conditioning at both the high school level and the college level. Which one do you prefer? And give us 2 or 3 differences from both aspects. Coaching high school strength and conditioning to college football to high school football. First of all, which one do you prefer?
So for me, I think that just as far as flexibility and I guess the lives that you can touch, I would say probably high school. You get to have an impact on a whole lot more people. The NSCA did a study a few years back about where are you going to have the biggest impact? And most of the time it's at high school, because as you move up the food chain from high school to college to professional athletics, you're working with fewer and fewer people. So in a high school setting, for me, you get to have a bigger impact. It fits really well with my schedule. You're able to have some flexibility as far as time, but then those kids are like sponges. I mean, they're excited, they're happy. I tell people all the time, the favorite teacher in the building is the physical education teacher. Everybody loves you. They're excited to see you. Most of them look forward to your class. It's like a mental break. They get a chance to get up and be active, so they really, really like it. The college setting, as far as a strength coach, is really, really good for me because I work with a diverse population. I work with football a lot, but I did a lot with the other sports. Probably when me and you started, Coach, you were just a strength coach. You know, you weren't really specialized. So I enjoyed just the different personalities of the different athletes and the different demands of their sports, being able to interact with their sport coaches and just learning a little bit more about what it takes to be successful in their individual sport. So that was one of the pluses. When we're talking about football, again, I'm probably going to say the high school setting. And the reason for that is the same thing. You actually get the chance to see a kid from a freshman to a sophomore to a junior to a senior. And not only is there a big physical development, but there's a lot of mental, emotional development. And that's the one thing about being a teacher. Not saying that it doesn't happen in the college setting, but you get to have a little bit more of an impact just because you are another adult in a supervisory mentoring role, that you get a chance to have a big impact on the kids. And so I would probably say on both ends, whether it be strength or football, I like the high school setting. And it's an industry that's growing a lot. There are a lot of opportunities. If you're looking at being a strength coach or a position coach for a sport, you're gonna have a whole lot more opportunities on the high school level.
Yeah, well, we've talked about it time and time again, and we've seen it now with some of the jobs that are opened up. The high school strength and conditioning as a true career is at an all-time high. It didn't even exist when I was coming through high school. Most of the time, as you know, Coach, and even still a little bit in our state, a lot of the strength and conditioning coaches are football coaches, or the head football coach, or the head basketball coach. So where we've just seen across the state lines in South Carolina, you see a lot more strength coach only. And it's growing. I've talked to several of my friends in Tennessee in the high school private sector job hunt in that area has got to be one of the best states available from a financial standpoint, from a career. So I really have seen that jump. It's really a blessing that there's so many opportunities. Now, even the private sector, when I first came out, if you were a private sector coach or you were just a personal trainer training general pop, now there's legitimate jobs where I say if you are in the sports performance profession in the private sector, you are not a trainer. You are their coach. You are coaching them. This is not general pop weekend warrior stuff. So again, high school, college, pro, private sector, as long as you're coaching, as long as you're teaching and touching lives like Coach said, you can't beat coming to work in t-shirts and shorts.
The best job on the planet. There are about 35,000 public and private high schools in the United States. And what we're seeing is a lot of people are understanding the importance of strength and conditioning. Probably back when me and you started, really it was just the bigger universities. It's trickled down to Division II, Division III, and even down to the high school level where everybody understands the big importance about strength and conditioning is, number one, it helps keep the athletes safe, it helps keep them healthy, but it gives them a chance to be successful. It gives them a chance to be successful.
Well, Coach, thanks again. Hey, why are we outside today and why are we outside the house? Because it is Saturday and we had Meathead Metabolics and we beat ourselves up. We did farmers walks, we did yoke walks, we tried to be athletic and do some pogo jumps to overhead med ball throws. We'll show you some of that on the clips. I'm sure you'll see it. But hey, for Coach Harbor, this is Joe Big House Ken for Inside the House, powered by Dynamic Fitness and Strength, building the better athlete. And until next time, words win. Perfect, man. 20 minutes. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.